Oh my goodness. I think I
Huh.
pressed the right button. I
Hey,
think
I
we're in
think it
the right
worked.
spot. How you doing, Rod?
I'm doing fairly well. I a little sad though that we're live because I was enjoying that music. It made me feel, I don't know if you feel this, but it made me feel like I was on like a cruise ship with Meryl
Oh yeah.
Streep as the captain. I thought I was being invited to the captain's table for dinner. It kind of felt like, yeah,
It is rather interesting when they find the royalty-free stuff to see what actually works. But
yeah,
thanks for joining today. We're actually filling in for a bunch of folks. We're trying to swap the different people in and out. And one of the mainstays of AZ Update is Pierre Roman on our team. And Pierre got the lovely job of driving his daughters over to Montreal, 2-hour drive from where he lives, to be able to drop off for a vacation. So he figured a live remote take would not be good, just with the noise and the background noise, stuff like that. So we both stepped up to be able to do it today, man. That's going to be fun.
yeah. It's the difference between like an action movie and a drama, I guess. So Pierre would have the action movie with all the car sounds, and it would be pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
But this is
Oh
teamwork,
man.
right? This
Yeah.
shows our team, great teamwork. So yeah, happy to do this. Happy to talk about all the good stuff we have.
Well, in light of that, one of the things that I wanted to talk about first in our air quotes banter section
Yeah,
is talking about the Windows hybrid event that we had earlier this week. Did you get a chance to watch that on Tuesday?
I did. Well, on Tuesday I watched pieces of it
Mm.
because obviously I'm never idle. That's just me. It's like an OCD thing. So I'm always doing something. I'm always doing like 2 or 3 things. So I did kind of catch some of that, but then yesterday I went back and watched the things as a security person that I felt were
Right.
more aligned with what I wanted to hear. So yeah, I did listen to all the security stuff yesterday. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Nice. You don't have that linked up on your screen resources that we could take a look at. This is where we'd have the professional short links, but I don't know if we
Right.
actually created the short links or not. But
And we'll
main
have to
way that
do
we've
that.
got is oh, see, there's you should be the one that's on the main page, not me.
So yeah, I'm on. Yeah.
Let's go with that shared screen right there. So, yeah, so one of the announcements that came up as part of that is the Windows Auto Patch, as an example. And you had a particular interest in this particular one. What exactly brought your eye for this concept of the Windows Auto Patch that we announced?
So yeah, there's whole history thing here. Some people don't know. So I was on the original team. I was a contractor on the original team that created the original patch management guide at Microsoft way, 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 way
Hmm.
back in. So I'm semi semi responsible for Patch Tuesday, so everybody can absolutely hate me. But this Windows Auto Patch was, I kind of gleaned this week. I thought this was absolutely interesting. Those customers that have been so hard tasked with updating their systems every month forever, now Microsoft can actually help you with that. It's called
Hmm.
Auto Patch. Auto Patch, you turn some or maybe all of your patching tasks over to Microsoft. I thought it was interesting how we'll actually take a subset of your environment, do a little testing with the patches and pull those back. And then if everything works, we're gonna auto patch your systems for you. More kind of like this whole idea around the cloud and services and pay as you go and this whole utility concept,
Hmm.
which is absolutely amazing, particularly for those customers that can take advantage of this.
Right. Now, it also uses all of our signals that we get from other people if they're having problems with those patches. It uses a ring
Yep.
system, if you will, to kind of gradually phase them out to different people, which is cool. It's all kind of anchored in our backend solution that is using Windows Update for Business as the main backend, where you can control the
Yep.
different settings for all the different machines. But it uses our information on being able to pull them back if they're working, if there's troubles, but you still have control. But we basically look after the infrastructure and the rollout and the scheduling, that sort of stuff. So pretty
Yeah.
cool stuff. There's another whole section that was there talking about security.
Oh yeah.
And I know you're a security person.
I am.
And so in there, I'm just curious if you had anything with the security fundamentals breakouts. That was there anything in there that kind of caught your eye?
Well, we have some really excellent new features coming, particularly for Windows 11. Everything that we do at Microsoft, I hope folks get this, is all modeled around kind of this zero trust idea. So people think about our cloud, they think about our on-premises tools, security tools, zero trust. It sounds right. That just a
Hmm.
given. Yeah, you should focus on that. But it goes even further because based on this hybrid work event and the discussion we had this week, this is being modeled into Windows 11. I mean, it's already there, but I think it was exposed much, much better in
Right.
that it breaks down all the way from the hardware, all the way to the applications, the operating system, the identity that's built in, and then also all the way for that connection to the cloud where these systems can be managed with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint.
Right.
What really stuck with me though was the numbers, how successful our products and services have been in protecting our customers. I actually
Mhm.
wrote this down here: 9.6 billion malware threats
Yeah.
identified and remediated, 35.7 billion phishing and other malicious emails identified, 25.6 billion brute force attempts. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
800 plus password attacks every second.
I was about to say that's the stat that stuck for me. That's the
Yeah.
zinger that he mentioned. 800 password attempts per second that we're catching as far as where that is. That's insane. If again, I finally found the URL. If you want to go off, take a look at it. It's not a nice short form one, but this is the event. It's completely free to go off and see. The breakouts, there's 3 of them. We're talking specifically about the security fundamentals breakout for the stuff that was in there. The big thing that caught my eye was just the level of interesting and breakdown that David did with regards to the demos that he brought out. Like the dude is literally pulling up Fiddler to look
Oh,
at the traffic between the website and
yes.
Teams and the other stuff to be able to say, no, over here, this packet tells you this, or else he brought out the best one, which I thought was capturing the traffic between the TPM and the CPU live on the
Yeah.
bus
Yeah. That
physically
was pretty
as he
awesome.
steals the BitLocker key, and then talking specifically with that with our new Pluton silicon that's coming out,
So I
which is
have
really
a
kind of amazing stuff.
so I have a in-person conference coming up next month.
Mm,
It's it's usually a endpoint manager type conference. I'm bringing security stuff into it, and those demos you're talking about,
yeah.
I'm absolutely wanting to steal some of those.
So I should be looking for the expense report coming in from you for some additional hardware, I take it, eh?
Yeah, most likely. There you go. Yeah,
Nice. Well,
absolutely.
cool stuff. Go off and check out that particular event. Some really cool stuff inside the fundamentals piece. We also talked a bit about the IT management for hybrid work section as well.
Mm,
The demos are not quite as slick as the other ones are, but give them props for some of the announcements that came in there. Very cool stuff. They have a bunch of resources and links during those sessions, about 20 minutes a piece. So go check those ones out. But we've got some actual news that came out from new releases that came from this week for things that are coming up. And I believe the first one we're going to be talking about is yours. It is
yeah,
specifically about Azure Backup. What's new with that, man?
absolutely. I thought this kind of stuck out to me as a security person, right? So I have to have a certain skill set to be able to remediate things, threats, and things like this. But at the core, as a security person, it's all about the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
All about the data, the metrics. This was hugely important to me. So we've released just recently some capability around metrics and metric alerts for some of our storage capability. But now,
Right.
this week, released it for blob storage, which is huge. And I can't tell you the number of times working with Microsoft Sentinel, our customers have said, hey, I need to be able to track all storage accounts. And we've kind of been, I don't know, not quite as full on some of those storage accounts. And now it looks like that capability is coming into play. And this is absolutely awesome. This absolutely meets what customers have been requesting and asking for a long time. This is
Right.
going to give you stuff about, did the restore job work? How's the health of restore job? Because at the end of the day, when you're talking about potential disaster recovery, you need to know that your backups are pretty good, right? So this is good stuff to be able to tell, at least from that perspective, whether or not things are going to work.
Nice. The backup solution definitely enhanced for being able to do stuff, more monitoring that you can do and taking place, which is awesome. And we've got a link on there for being able to go off and check out the details on the backup support metrics and the reporting you can do on that one there for some new updates. Pretty cool stuff.
Yep.
What one caught my eye from our update service was actually talking about the Bastion support for using Kerberos for authentication. It's a small little update, but it's still important to know that's now possible. That basically it can now work with both the basic and standard SKU as far as how you're using Azure Bastion, and simply some docs and resource links from this particular update talking about how to set up Kerberos authentication inside your Bastion environment, and also how to configure it to use Kerberos authentication as well. Now, I'm curious, Rod, like Azure Bastion. Deployed? Yes, no. Are you an interested individual talking about Bastion? Again, kind of hinting on your security background. I kind of already know the answer, but I thought I'd ask.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I do have it deployed in my own environment and work with it quite a bit. It does give you kind of a sense of, well, let's use the word, I'm sorry, security. It does kind of give you some security knowing that those connections are secure and safe, right? The other thing I hesitate to say this, but I have to. Last time I was on the show with Pierre, we talked about Bastion. And I just have to be very clear. It has to be pronounced a certain way. Otherwise, it sounds like another word. Just got to be careful about that. It's Azure Bastion.
Nice.
And it's a really good service. I remember when this Azure Bastion first came out in GA last year, and customers absolutely ate this stuff up. So this support for Kerberos is pretty awesome. And as I think customers will find over time, there will be even greater support for a lot of our other services as well.
Right. What I like is that we keep on extending the functionality of it. I mean, we started off and it was just literally a web interface to be able to go off and take a look at a remote desktop type session through a web interface, which was kind of clunky, but worked. But now we've actually got like SSL you can go and do through the Bastion host directly with your native client. We've got RDP capabilities. And then now we actually have a higher level of authentication with Kerberos authentication taking place. So I love how we keep on innovating to it, but ultimately it's your jump box as a service, JBAAS, I guess it is, for being able to access your Azure resources as a good practice to be able to go off and do different things.
You might have to trademark that, by the way.
I know. I need to go off and get that Twitter account. What do you got up next for your next item that we have to talk about?
Yeah. So this one actually comes with a short story. So some folks know that I co-host a weekly podcast called Microsoft Security Insights.
Nice.
And a couple of our guests talked about MDI, not this week, but last Wednesday evening, we talked about MDI. And one of the things that was brought out as part of that conversation was in Microsoft Defender for Identity is almost a near perfect product. One of Microsoft's near perfect, and customers say this all the time because it works. It's awesome. It works great. But in relation to a security product, all it literally does is monitor and alert, right? It couldn't remediate. You couldn't take action on whatever that was. Well, fast forward to this week. Guess what? We announced this week that Microsoft Defender for Identity supports response actions. It's limited, right? It's limited to these two: disable user and reset user password. But literally, we're talking about identity. And from a security analyst perspective, if I can do two things, if I can reset a user's password or I can disable a user because I believe that account might be potentially compromised, I've protected the rest of my environment. So those are huge. While it's only two things, those are huge. And according to the product team, there's more actions coming. So it's getting Microsoft Defender for Identity is becoming more and more aligned with what all of the rest of our security products can do as well. So that's really awesome.
Nice. And as always, we got a nice link inside the blog that's associated with this particular recording on IT Ops Talk to get access to all those links, additional resources. All the links that we have also point to docs resource pages and or Microsoft Learn modules. You can go off and try them yourself. And we've basically just done the work of bringing together some of the more interesting topics to chat about here during the show. So Defender, I wasn't even aware of the Defender for Identity response actions that were possible. So that's kind of cool that you brought that up, and cool stuff. The last article that we have to chat about right now is about something that is near and dear to my heart as someone who used to go through a whole bunch of hosting and work with a bunch of different hosters and content, that sort of stuff, is the availability to do BYOIP, bring your own IP. It doesn't really roll off the tongue as nice as like an IaaS acronym or something like that. But the whole concept of bring your own IP, I mean, your public IP address, like I still remember way back in the day, you know what the address is that they use for Microsoft on training materials? You remember that? Or do you know that one, Rod?
I don't.
131.107. And then boom, boom. Like I remember that one there and always in all the labs that they used to have for 131.107. If you do an NS lookup on that address range, it actually comes back as being owned by Microsoft, right? So back in the day, we used to own our own IP address ranges, and you build up your reputation of
Yeah.
your how secure or how your identity of your computer and your organization based on the IP address ranges that you potentially own, and you might want to use those as part of your applications that you're deploying and your resources and workloads you're deploying up into the public cloud. So we now have the general availability of being able to bring your own IP address ranges into Azure themselves. And these are the public ones. These are not your internal ones. These are the public ones. So it comes in very handy if you've got some resources that you've now moved up into Azure, but then now you need to reference those public IP addresses, and they would normally point to your on-premises boxes through the firewall and redirection. Now they can point natively and directly up inside of Azure if you wanted to with bring your own IP. They could basically be onboarded as Azure Regional Custom IP Prefixes, which is the official term for how it works. And then we've got a link to doing the custom IP prefixes. This has been available in preview mode for a while now, but now that we're actually hit GA, we're now kind of excited to say that you can now BYOIP up into the Azure world.
By OIP. No, it still doesn't work, does it?
Still doesn't roll off the tongue, man. I don't know what it is.
After having this explained to me yesterday, I absolutely love this because I've run websites for years, right? And you always have to change your DNS and point the IP to it if you change services or hosting companies and stuff. So yeah, I get that. This is from a security perspective too. I think I don't want to overlook this. Talking about that reputation for your company, that IP range and things like this. God forbid that you would have your IP put on some deny list somewhere, right?
Those blacklists back in the day. Remember those?
Yeah. And it could happen. And you talk about the reputation and being able to bring your IP addresses over, that these trusted connection numbers, right? That's really good. That is kind of a security component. So I absolutely love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember having to worry about keeping your IP ranges clean, having to take them off the different spam bot lists, that sort of stuff, for mail relays. Oh yeah, all that fun stuff. Again, these are only 4 items that we found that were kind of interesting, that were relevant to bring up inside the AZ Update show. We mentioned the event at the very beginning, which was the hybrid work, and we specifically called out the 2 breakouts for managing your environment and also securing your environment. There was one more that we wanted to bring up. We didn't have it inside our official show notes that you brought up, which was a beta exam. What was that? What was that talking about? Because I saw you tweeting about that earlier this week, that you had some problems with the system.
Not really problems.
Or you were too anxious to take it. That's what it was.
Yeah, they announced it was going to go live yesterday, and I've been waiting. And even yesterday morning, I was hitting the refresh button because I wanted to schedule this exam absolutely as soon as possible.
Which one was it? Just so everyone knows.
Which one?
Which one was it that you're waiting for the beta? What was it called?
SC100.
SC100 going live. Got it.
Yeah, right. So we have this whole series, this SC series of exams, now SC100 through SC400. I think there's another one as well. But these cover our security platform products more so from like an analyst or someone that works with our products, works with security. This SC100 is the one that kind of pulls everything together from an security architect perspective, with standing up the platform, setting up the infrastructure, governance and risk, making sure everything is secure, and doing it from a zero trust perspective. So this is actually pretty huge. I did finally get to schedule it. It's actually scheduled for this afternoon. I think take it at 3:00 this afternoon. So nice. I'm really excited about that. The cool thing about it, though, is that if you pass this one along with, and I've got that list right here, these others, if you have these already, you get a cybersecurity architect expert badge. And that's what I'm in it for. I always want the expert stuff.
So really, you're looking for completion of all the different expert badges that you can grab. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I think if I go back and look, I think I have every certification we have. So
nice.
Just one of those, another OCD thing of mine that, I have to admit to.
No, definitely. Hey, I remember my MCP certification page used to be about 4 pages long from all the stuff I took. I have kind of slowed down a little bit as the newer ones have come out, but I still am plugging away at various different ones. But thanks for talking about the SC100. For that particular exam, anything that you would point to as like a good study guide resource? Any kind of tips?
So there are a few, and in fact, this link we have to this page, there are a couple on here. There's not a lot because it is a beta exam,
Oh,
right?
okay, okay.
There's not a lot in reference to study materials.
Mm-hmm.
And because it is a beta, we're offering the first 300 people that take the exam, we're scheduled to take it before May 5th, and some money off the registration. Because
Okay.
I registered, because I'm a Microsoft person, it doesn't take away from those 300 people. So,
Okay, good.
don't think that I've taken your seat. So, yeah, you can do that. But from a study perspective, it's literally just, I think it's just hands-on. We have a
Okay.
lot of really good Learn modules that can cover a lot of this stuff. But at the end of the day, you need to combine those Learn modules with actual hands-on if you want to pass this stuff. I've taken all of the SC series exams, and
Nice.
if I hadn't worked with the product, I probably would have failed each one. So
Right. So
Yep.
those resource links are helpful. I find it usually works out quite well going for the exam objectives page on Microsoft Learn, taking those objective pages, putting them inside of a OneNote, and then going off and finding the docs and finding the Learn stuff
Yep.
that's associated with each one of those objectives to be able to go off as my starting point for things. Cool stuff. Speaking of some training and some other online capabilities, there's some cool
Yep.
stuff going on with our team that we put together, which is called the Learn Live Study Hall for Hybrid.
Right.
Cool stuff. Do you have the link for that one there we can show for everybody?
Let me
Kicking
see if
around?
I can grab it. I think I was in the
Uh-oh.
midst of it when.
I'll let you find it and I'll talk about it a little bit. So we were approached by a team internally at Microsoft that handles generating and sourcing different skilling resources. I know because I'm saying the word skilling, I'm driving Pierre crazy right now if he's listening, because he hates it when someone uses the word skilling. So I'm going to say skilling as many times as I can in this section. But they approached us for a skilling initiative that was going to be talking about how to skill people up with regards to their hybrid capabilities. And so Thomas Maurer on our team went ahead and helped coordinate the effort of finding resources for everyone and finding presenters to be able to present the content as well. I see you've got the slide up there, so let me pull that up for everybody to be able to see. But the idea is that we've got, I want to say, almost like a dozen and change, almost more than that, of stuff lined up on the main page for the resources. You can go off and find it here. But we're talking about all the different connectivity that we have on the hybrid sense. We're pairing up both internal Microsoft people, product team people, and Microsoft MVPs as well to be able to deliver these. They're all about, as you can see here, 90 minutes long, which is a interactive chat back and forth and look at the Learn modules together and the demos and stuff like that, and then go through some skill testing questions. This is going to be starting actually in a week or so and finishing up in mid-May. So it's a good long endeavor of a couple of them a week. And they're also time zone friendly to work both in Europe and also in North America. And a little bit early, except the North American ones work for our friends over in Australia and the Asia Pacific region too, for some content. So you'll see some friendly faces here as possible hosts for these particular entries, and you'll see some really good content as we go through. Anyone in there stick out for you as being interesting, my friend?
Yeah, I think this is an awesome endeavor. I have to tell you, because it's sometimes finding the appropriate time to go through some of these Learn modules on your own. You kind of get pulled away to do other things. This remote work, it takes a certain personality to really just stay, nose in, focused all the time. So being able to do this with somebody, that's pretty awesome. Yep.
Definitely. So go check that one out. Go sign up. They're all free to attend, 90 minutes a piece. Block them in your schedule. You can also see them on demand after the fact. So there'll be some good content coming up there. In our community event section, just obviously shameful self-promotion. I'm even dressed up according to the parts. Patch and Switch is going to be on later today in about an hour and 35 minutes or so at twitch.tv/patch and switch. Joey Snow will be joining me. So will that other guy, what's his name again? Steve, I think it is. Yeah, Steve's going to be joining us too for some good shenanigans of just kind of blowing off some steam. But you mentioned at the very top of the hour, the thing that you do on Wednesdays. What's the name of that one there? What's going on with there? And is it every Wednesday? And who's part of it?
Oh yeah, so it's called Microsoft Security Insights. If folks don't know, that was kind of the original name for a lot of our security platforms, right? Kind of the code name.
Yeah.
So that's the name of the podcast. It is a podcast every Wednesday night, 5 p.m. Eastern time, live on Twitch.
Okay.
And we're nearing our 100th episode, which is pretty fantastic to think about. And it goes for about an hour 15 minutes. The replay, the audio replay for podcasts, right? It comes out the following week, usually Monday on all the podcast platforms.
Right.
Some exciting news coming up that we're starting to slowly migrate to a Microsoft platform, Microsoft Reactor for production and for the show, which is pretty awesome in itself. It's co-hosted by myself, a couple of my colleagues internally, Brody and Edward, and we have one non-Microsoft person who's absolutely amazing with security, red teaming stuff. So Frank, and it's a really good event. We talk about all things Microsoft security. We have partners on. We have product managers constantly that want to come in and talk about what they're doing, what they're excited about. We have folks from our field who are working with customers constantly. It's literally all across the spectrum, all across the board. And it's a really interesting, relaxed conversation.
That's awesome, man.
We make fun of each other.
When is your first episode that's going to be going on with the reactors?
April 20th, we're having on Matt Stossman, who is currently product manager with the Microsoft Identity and Engineering team. So
got it. Cool. Well, I know Matt. He's a good guy. So should be a good guest to have on.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, man. Well, we've got one last thing to hit on in our normal schedule stuff, which is what is the Learn module of the week?
Well, I think I've said the word identity about 100 times today during the show. So I thought, might as well finish with that. We do have this says Exam SC300, this Microsoft Identity and Access, but it is absolutely, if you go down to the bottom of this page, there is a whole Learn module associated with this.
Oh yeah, that was a whole learning path, I think, not just a module. Yeah.
Well, not the the whole learning path, talking about our identity solutions, being able to work with Microsoft Identity and stuff like that. And as I mentioned earlier, this is great to prepare you for that exam, but you also do need hands-on, and there's a lot of capability that we provide to customers to give you either hands-on in your environment, or we'll give you a little demo environment that you can get a little bit of hands-on experience with. So
cool stuff. Microsoft Learn module is always good to have, and obviously that one there with identity. Identity is one of the cornerstones for being able to correctly secure your environment, is it not?
It is the first step in securing your environment. If you don't have identity managed, you literally have no security. I'll say that right now.
Well, very valid point. I like that. very, very valid. Cool stuff, man. Well, I think we're just about done. Anything for closing comments? Anything hopefully to let us back to host the show again. But
it's like one of those things. Yeah, it's like leaving the car keys with the kids and going out of town, right? You just don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully they'll have us back. I enjoy myself. Probably a little too much sometimes, but yeah.
Nice. Well, hey, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Really appreciate it. A little bit clunky. We managed to make it through. There's some great people that go off and made some comments. I saw some team members and some community members on the different platforms, the Facebooks, the YouTubes, and the Twitches. So again, join us again next week for another episode. All this information is available on the blog for itopstalk.com. And the episode has all the different show notes and all the different links. Rod, thank you very much for joining today and helping me co-host. And also thank you, and a tip of the hat goes out to Pierre for trusting us with the keys to the car. And we'll see you next week.
Yep. Have a good week.